Hi, in this video I'll try to explain the very basics of functions in discrete mathematics. Now functions, you probably already know what functions are. A function in mathematics is simply, for example, like this: fx equals 5 plus x. This is a function, a very simple function. We give it any x and it adds 5 to it and gives back the value plus 5. So let's look at this function from programming point of view. What can we write? A function like myfunc int x return x plus 5. Now this is very similar to this one. Takes a variable, takes an integer x, adds 5 to it and returns it. Now this is also doing the same thing. Now what a function actually is in discrete maths? A function is simply a mapping from one set to another set. Now this set, the left hand side, this set is the set of values we provide to the function, we input, like the x. What can we provide? We can provide him integers. Now this set is those values. It's called the domain. And the right hand side is called the codomain, and it's the set of those values which are outputted by the function. I'm sorry, outputted is not a real word. This is the set of those values which are given out by the function, the results. For example, if the domain is this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and in codomain the set of these types of numbers will appear, obviously 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Now when we give this function x equals 1, what does it give us back? It gives us 5 plus 1 equals 6. When x equals 1, fx equals 6. So here in this way we map from 1 to 6. And for 2, what does it give us? It gives us 7. For 3, 8. For 4, 9. And so on, we'll map. So this is the domain and codomain. I hope you understand them now. Now there is another word called range. Range of a function. What is the range of a function? A range is basically those elements from codomain which have been mapped, which are covered. Here in the codomain, the domain is a set of natural numbers, codomain is a set of natural numbers, but there are some numbers which have not been covered, and there are some which have been covered. Those which can be reached are the range. The numbers outside the range cannot be reached. They are out of range, basically. So these are the very basic 3 terms. You will hear them a lot when we talk about functions. Now a very brief and simple introduction about the very basic types of functions which you will hear again and again. And these are one-to-one function, and onto function, and the combination of both. First, let's look at one-to-one function. What is a one-to-one function? A function is one-to-one when every element from the left side, the domain side, is mapped to a unique element on the codomain side. No two elements are mapped to the same element. No, every element from the left side must be mapped to a different element, a unique element. Like this one is mapped to this one to this. Doesn't matter what are they mapped to. The only concern is that the two or more elements must not be mapped to the same element. This is the domain, this is the codomain, and for if FA equals FB, then A equals B. For example, if any two elements from the left side are mapped to an same elements, their mappings are equal, then the elements must be equal. It means it should be the same element. This is the formal definition. This is the one that you might understand easily. No two elements must be mapped to the same. Basically, there can be vacant elements on the right side. This is allowed. This is a perfect one-to-one function. Now looking at the onto function. An onto function is easy to understand too. An onto function is simply that function in which the right side is fully covered. There are not vacant elements. Basically, if we cover this element, this becomes an onto function too. An onto function, the right side must be fully mapped on. There should not be any vacant element. The right side should be filled. Codomain must be completely mapped on. Codomain equals range in an onto function. I hope you get it. Range is those elements from the codomain which have been mapped by the domain. And if codomain equals range, then it's an onto function. So if a function is both one-to-one and onto, a function can also be both one-to-one and onto at the same time. This type of function is called a one-to-one correspondence. This function is a one-to-one correspondence because every element is mapped to unique elements. This makes it one-to-one, and every element from the codomain side is covered. There is no vacant element on the codomain side, so it makes it onto. If it's both, then it's a one-to-one correspondence. There are some very typical words which are given to these. A one-to-one function is referred by the word injective. You have to remember it. A onto function is called surjective. And if a function is both, if it's one-to-one correspondence, if it's both, then it's called bijective. I don't know which language these words come from, but these are the standard words these terms are called by. They may look difficult, but they are easy. Now, here are a few examples to make you understand it easier. The examples. Look at this example. Is this function one-to-one? A one-to-one function is one in which the elements of the domain are mapped onto unique elements of the codomain. Is it the case here? C is mapped to 1, A is mapped to 3, and B is mapped to 4. So they are mapped to different elements. So this is a one-to-one function. Is it an onto function? An onto function is one in which the codomain is fully mapped. Codomain is equal to range. Here the 2 is not being mapped by any of the elements from the domain. So this is not an onto function. Now look at this example. Is it a one-to-one function? A and D are mapped to the same element too. So this is not a one-to-one function. Is it an on-to function? Yes, all the elements from the codomain are fully covered. This example. All the elements from the domain are mapped to unique elements. So this is a one-to-one function. Is it on-to? Yes. Now this one, here A and C are mapped to the same element in the codomain. So this is not one-to-one. Is it on-to? No, 4 is not mapped. Okay, let's look at this example. Is it a one-to-one function, or is it an on-to function, or is it both, or is it none? Think about it. Now this one is not even a function, because one element from the domain is mapped to two elements. This cannot be a function, because for one input it is giving two outputs. Which one of the outputs would you accept, 2 or 4? This is not a function. So these were the examples. I hope you understand the very basics of functions. More in next videos. Subscribe. Thank you.